I'm Rebecca, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. God forbid would I press on a video essay that was like 20 minutes long from someone I never knew. It is based on an article I wrote in summer 2025, and on the 1st of October that year it was published on the blog of the Gay Saint at the University of St Andrews. So if you come across the article on the Gay Saint blog, I'm not plagiarising or anything, that's just me at a different time. I remember being so proud of this article when I was first put on the Gay Saint blog, and I was getting messages from straight friends, from friends of friends, as well as queer friends about how they could relate or found it interesting. And I really loved revisiting this topic again almost a year after I wrote the original draft of the essay. I hope you can enjoy this more sort of reflective video audio version of my first university blog post article. I'll be honest, I struggle to remember the first time I shaved my legs. Just that my mum always told me never to shave above the knee. Similar deal with my armpits and my bikini line. Being bright blonde as a child paved the way for a very fine and light leg hair. So much so that for the first few years of puberty, it never even crossed my mind, even in the presence of others. Then, one PE class, when I was maybe about 14 or 15, I looked around as we sat cross-legged on the floor for registration, and half the girls were completely hair-free below their shorts. Most of my friends had thick, dark hairs covering their entire legs. Even now I can feel the stomach punch of disgust that hit me. I thought it looked gross, weird and bad and awkward, and that those girls, my friends, were just trying to not be like the other girls. Then, a second later, I felt ashamed for thinking that something so natural would be immediately described as disgusting and strange. I know, I was really introspective for my early teens. Though, if we're being honest, I'm at least a little proud that my hetero-posited feminism still allowed for body hair to be a natural thing, as this event happened to be LA, before lesbianism awakening. So today, we're talking about the history of shaving, what it means for women, queer people, most especially us femme. So I know I don't identify as like a femme, F-E-M-M-E, more just as the descriptor, like shorthand of feminine femme. I respect and adore the historical and political implications and like structure of femme lesbians and their butch counterparts, but I do not identify as femme lesbian. That's not my political identity in that sense. And if you are a femme, I would love to hear your thoughts. Women's razors, invented by men, used for men, and literally cutting women up. Women's razors were first sold in the early 20th century. Prior to then, Victorian hem and necklines covered women from toe to chin, so no one knew they were going around full bush in a bikini, or more likely full bush in a corset stays configuration. As the 1900s continued, boyish figures and shorter hemlines made male razor companies realize they could double their target market by inventing insecurities to sell more. And so they invented the pink tax and society's new sexy standard of femininity. And by sexy, I mean bold. Just everywhere. Bold everywhere. According to a magazine article I read, razors were even advertised alongside adverts for short and sheer sleeve dresses, so women could easily complete the look. These newly bold legs and pits being the final accessory on a lady of class's outfit. Hairlessness further imparted purity, youth, and an elegance which was obviously missing from the previous century's outfits of the day. Obviously, it also insinuates a want for younger, prepubescent seeming women. I mean, pedos aren't a new concept or anything, and I can't pretend to be surprised, but fucking gross, guys, come on now. World War II's nylon rationing, or just lack thereof nylon, created the liquid tights that would only be believable in a shaven leg, as it was just like ink drawn to make a seam along the back of your leg, I'm pretty sure. So it would only look like a smooth leg if you shaved. Female beauty standards then continued down this road, even more so once the boys returned from the trenches, or, you know, one could say the pits. And as time progressed, bold pits, pins and pussy became ever more popular. By the latter half of the 1900s, an almost absolute majority of Anglo-Western women were shaving their legs and armpits. It became the norm, and any women outside of that norm were shamed and mocked by their friends, family and foes alike. Based on the article, Dreaded Otherness, Heteronormative Patrolling and Women's Body Hair Rebellions by Brianne Foss, August 2011. In 2009, an unnamed American University's Women's Studies assignment asked its students to not shave their body for 10 weeks. An imposingly tall order in the enclosed microcosm of college dormitories, under the watchful eye of close-knit student communities, judging your legs and pits as they grew ever hairier for extra credit. The participants reported back on familial upset as their new ungroomed sisters visited home, with mothers ashamed, fathers appalled, and siblings questioning how the fuck anyone would dare sleep with such a yeti. Of course, Questions of male partners' ownership over their women also cropped up, with the worst of them questioning why they didn't ask for their permission. This isn't some faraway time, by the way, literally within my lifetime. And I'm only 20 years old.
I'm a baby. I can pay you in blocks.
And most obviously, there were accusations of lesbian and questioning of the participants' true gender identity by their families and friends. Although not said as politely at the time. Mothers especially were found to be rampant questioners of gender and sexual identity when their daughters visited home. And although both straight, bisexual and lesbian women participated, pretty much all of them felt threatened by the danger of being associated with or as queer. Within the limits of the study, society seemingly perceived all sapphics to be man-hating dykes.
Wait, is this fucking play about us?
With some stating they were afraid of being physically attacked on suspicion of lesbianism due to their body hair. I mean, why shouldn't those with no respect for standards of femininity or the fragile egos of conservative heterosexual society be beaten up? Give me one good reason why they shouldn't be. Foss continues, I don't think I'm saying that right, but I'm trying. Foss continues to detail the experience of heterosexual women in relationships who partook in the study. Mothers questioned how their daughters hoped to attract a husband with hair all over, and one boyfriend's dad asked if a participant had asked for her partner's approval before taking. Obviously, she had not, because she didn't need it, because it's 2009. Many women noted their disappointment in the majority of the men around them, with even some less than attractive quotes coming from the boyfriends themselves. Many straight women, and this is just my summarization of the article in general, were surprised at the upset their visible body hair caused, making breaking down their own biases and negative feelings much harder when everyone around them began to see the participants as having reached circus freak status. Was a quote multiple times. Reading this article, which I remember being mentioned online in video essays or TikToks ages ago, although confirmed many of my suspicions, still managed to shock me. The fuck you mean men were perceived to control their women's body autonomy in 2009? If I read that statement in isolation, I would obviously assume something like 1950s. Because that's wild, right? The article itself was published in 2011, and its wokeness pleased me, though. But I guess gender studies have been pretty woke every time. I mean, gender studies sounds so interesting, like women's studies, gender theory, etc., etc. sounds so interesting. But I'm already halfway through one jobless degree. I don't need another. What's there to say? Well, research and my personal feelings show lesbians care less for the public currency of femininity, primarily where it ascertains to male approval. Currency of femininity, by the way, coined by Foss in the article we just discussed. However, occasionally, although I try to ignore it, hetero-female approval is the only thing really on my mind if I'm questioning shaving my pits on a night out. I love a tiny top, a sweaty gal, love a tiny top. I want to repel men in the club, not women, so why would I want to shave my pits? I guess I wouldn't want to attract homophobic women. Or the ones with narrow perceptions of femininity. That's for me to mull over too long while not drunk enough at a prees. Pass me that peach schnapps and lemonade, please. As a study, although 15 years old, fucking hell, showed unshaven body hair perhaps hints at a form of sexual deviance. The passive act of letting your hair grow saves money, time, and a whole lot of razor burn. I get so happy thinking about how much money I've saved by not shaving or waxing. And furthermore, supposedly any sapphic would munch that box, shaved or not. Those exploring their gender identities out with the binary and are butch and mask people who craft their appearance to lean more towards the traditionally masculine would often grow their body hair out to add to the male aesthetic. But where does that leave femmes in their relationship to body hair? Personally, from about 16, I've had a neutral to positive relationship with my body hair. But realising I was gay made just about everything more confusing. My first girlfriend shaved her arms, legs, everything, and prior to her, I hadn't even realised people would shave their arms at all. Context, I don't have arm hair. Well, I do have arm hair, but you can't see it really. So I guess I'm lucky in that sense, but I don't care. Although maybe I would think about it more if I had darker body hair, because I do have really pale skin. But yeah, younger me saw shaving as a process of cleaning, smoothing, and making it all less itchy everywhere. Which, although somewhat true, this wouldn't have appeared as an option to me without the invention of the woman's razor. Then, when my first girlfriend and I broke up, just before I went to uni, I will admit I stopped bothering shaving anywhere for a good long while. They are not lying when they say that your first sapphic breakup will hit you like a freight train on fire. Is that a phrase? Is it freight truck? I'm not sure. When I first wrote this article about a year after we'd broken up, for context, I had shaved a bit by then, but as much as I think I had previously. And in the original, I said ashamedly that when my armpits got hairy, I felt quote unquote a bit dykey. And I mean that in a negative way. I think this was the idea that sort of started me writing this article. I remember sitting outside at a cafe with my sister who's straight and one of my friends who's a lesbian. We were talking about armpit hair and the statement making me feel like dykey. I don't know, I think it hit home that when I thought about it. And I can say now, I'm a proud fucking dyke. 19-year-old very feminine lesbian me felt that my sexual identity was occasionally invalid and pretty much always invisible when I'd look around my pastel pink childhood bedroom or look at pictures of me at balls with a long dress and heels. I know now, and I knew then pretty much, that stereotypes are bullshit and that any lesbian outfit is one I've got on, but it didn't stop me from thinking, or even acknowledging really, that no one would assume I was gay from the spam of photos the union puts on the Facebook after a ball. Can't imagine the fucking storage amount these photographers are dealing with. As of filming in June 2026, almost exactly 8 months after posting the article online, I've not really removed any of my body hair. Apart from one at my birthday night out, I tried to wax a little bit of my armpit hair off because I was feeling insecure and all my friends didn't have armpit hair on the night out, but that was mostly ineffectual because it's too long. When I thought about shaving my legs or waxing my pits after the article was posted, it felt like a pretty ironic juxtaposition to the piece itself. That I was lying or even unfeminist to go back on my word in the wake of a blog post that had been read about 200 times, subtle brag. This moral obligation, shout out OCD, to remain steadfast in my belief has caused me to have properly visible leg hair for the first time in my life. Since being home from uni for the summer, or just finishing my classes this year, therefore spending far too long inside my head, I considered shaving my legs in the last week or so. But a lesbian removing leg hair in Pride Month? If that's not a satirical hate crime, I don't know what is. More fortunately, I've also realised that a little bit of hair peeking out of a lacy or lettuce hem tee is low-key sexy as fuck. It feels more than stupid to say, like really silly. But I am proud of myself to have abstained from hair removal for so long. And I'm very happy to be more lesbian in that way. Even if no one in most of my day-to-day life can't fucking tell. Unless they see my laptop. Unless they see my laptop cover. But maybe not even then. To wrap things up, in the original article, which you're more than welcome to read, I'll link it, I went on to talk about the full bush and a thong trend internet thing in spring-summer 2025, but that is old as houses now. That's apparently what I wrote. My old as houses? Anyway, that shit's past, it's over, and then more importantly, I've taken up more than enough of your time if you're already gotten this far, which is wild, by the way, thanks. So yeah, thank you endlessly for watching. I hope you learned something and more importantly, enjoyed this little video version of my essay. I'll put my sources down wherever makes the most sense. You should be able to find them if you want to check them out. XOXO, Rebecca.